Life is a video game. Here is how you can win it. When I was in middle school and early high school, there was a game called The Sims. In this game, you undertook the role of running the actual life of a digital human being. You could do anything that you wanted. Build a house, go to work, put a bench press in the middle of a dance floor that you put in the middle of your living room to turn your house into a nightclub for your neighbors. Whatever you wanted to do, you could do it. I was not very good at this game, and despite having all of the cheat codes to unlock unlimited wealth and buy all of the things for the house that I wanted, my character would inevitably end up becoming very unhealthy and dying. It was sad. Rest in peace to my 1,000 sim avatars. You deserved better. Oddly enough, this is exactly how life works. Getting rich, hitting it big, and unlocking a lot of wealth does not necessarily mean that you'll unlock the same when it comes to your health and happiness. Some of the richest people that I've ever met in my life have also been some of the most unhealthy and some of the saddest and loneliest. Initially, I thought that I wanted the wealth that they had, and it's only been through achieving a similar level of success in my life, 7-figure business, beautiful fiance, amazing house that's like a villa with a pool out front, that I realized that there has to be a better way. A way that anyone watching this video can implement to feel fulfilled, full of purpose, and truly enjoy their time on this earth. In this video, I'm not only going to break down what you need to do to turn life into a video game where you slide through with constant growth, development, and main character energy, but if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you the exact steps that you can implement after this video to actually win at life. And it's my intention that if you implement this, you will steer clear of living an ordinary life and joining the ranks of the mindless masses living a life of mediocrity. First of all, let's talk about what I actually mean when I say that life is just like a video game. In video games, there are winners and losers. Just like in the real world of life, there are winners and losers. The winners in video games just simply have higher levels of skill, better upgrades, assets, or a better strategy. Everyone in a video game starts at the exact same level. You download the game, or in my day, you go to the store and buy a physical disc, slide it into your Xbox or PlayStation, and the game begins. At first, you have no idea what you're doing. You're walking into walls, you're shooting your weapon when you're trying to jump on a box. The same is true for life. When we're born, we have no idea what we're doing. We're just a baby. Over time, we learn to crawl, then we learn to walk, then we learn to run. As we grow up, we go through stages and changes. And at every new stage of life and at every turn, we're presented with new challenges. Have you ever noticed in a video game that when you face the final boss or when you see some sort of fork in the road, it almost always comes with some sort of test? The skills that you've been honing and practicing as you make your way through the game up to that point usually come to a head when you face the final boss. Usually you lose a couple of times. Sometimes you need to go back to the drawing board or literally go back a couple levels in the game to learn something that you missed or pick up some asset that you may have forgotten. And the same is true for life. Life is set up like a series of levels, just like a video game. When you're born, you're at level 0. As you make your way through life, you start getting more responsibility, more autonomy, and life starts getting a little bit harder. One of the biggest challenges comes when you're suddenly free to live life on your own. And it's all of a sudden up to you to choose your own path in this world, or take a path that society has already laid out and chosen for you. For most people, though, this is really where their professional and their personal development journey ends. The last book that they will ever read is oftentimes read on the last day of high school or college. The last course that they will ever take ends at the same time. They end up living a pretty ordinary existence because they haven't made any effort to do anything or learn anything other than the ordinary. It doesn't take much to begin living an incredible life. Even if you're in a bit of a hole right now, you can dig yourself out. Just like in a video game where you might be down to your very last life, you might be just one Mario kick away from an extra life. And the same is true for the real world. I love the concept of getting 1% better every day, or marginal gains. This was popularized by Sir David Brailsford, an old performance director of British cycling back in the day. It was later mapped out in great detail in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. Your future will be dictated by the actions and the steps that you implement today, but it can be pretty daunting to think about going from where you might be today to manifesting your dream life one day. It's just too much to handle at one time, so do this instead. Let's make an effort to improve 1% every day. And in just a moment, I'm going to actually give you tips on exactly how to do this. 1% might seem pretty insignificant, but it can have a massive impact as it compounds over time. If you just had $100 today, that's really not that much money. But if you increased that dollar amount by just 1% every single day, in 1 year, you would have $3,778. That's pretty massive. In 5 years, you would have $78 million. Instead of focusing on going from 0 to your dream life, Focus on just becoming 1% better every day. Now that we know how life is similar to a video game, let's talk about how we can actually use the game and the rules to our advantage. Before we jump into these tactics, there's a lot here. Maybe grab a pen and paper to take some notes, or maybe save this video to your watch later on YouTube so that you can come back to it in the future. Let me know which of these tactics you're going to use in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from some of you. Game creators and major corporations exploit our human nature to benefit themselves. These companies have spent billions researching and exploiting human behavior, and we've all been privy to the tactics that they use. Let's talk about how we can actually use these same tactics ourselves to benefit ourselves. The biggest tactic that we want to use is a concept called gamification. Gamification is the use of game elements and techniques in non-game contexts to encourage desired behaviors and increase engagement. We see this all over social media. When we tap like, when we engage with posts, or mindlessly play Candy Crush, we're rewarded for doing so. This takes advantage of our human desires and drivers on a chemical level. It exploits us by using dopamine to keep us engaged and on the platform. However, we can use the exact same tactic to improve our life. Gamification can be used to improve 3 different areas: our health, our wealth, and our mindset and knowledge. For our health, I love using apps like Apple Fitness or Strava. These apps keep track of your physical activity and help you visualize and chart your progress over time. I make it a goal each month to try and beat the previous month and earn additional digital badges for my digital trophy case. This enables you to visually see the progress adding up that you're making day after day, week by week, month after month. This starts to add up over time, and as you build this momentum, it becomes more and more difficult to deviate from your good habits that you're building. You don't want to break your streak. When it comes to our wealth, I love to gamify my investment forecasting. If you haven't already, a good video to watch after this one might be my video that's on investing for beginners, where I talk about my own personal investment strategy. I use an app called Betterment, which makes it super easy to forecast what your future net worth might look like, or how long it might take you to reach a financial goal that you set for yourself. When you're making short-term sacrifices every day, saving more than you're spending, and maybe making some lifestyle changes in order to do so, it's usually not a lot of fun. However, when you gamify this process and start seeing your progress on a map as you move closer and closer to your goal and begin building momentum over time, it becomes a lot of fun. And you might actually find yourself, like I did, wanting to do more of it. Another way that I like to gamify my knowledge growth is to use the Audible or Kindle apps when I'm reading books. Don't get me wrong, I like to have a hardcover copy as much as anybody else, but I find that when I have hardcover books versus digital books, I end up reading a lot less. Gamifying my reading helps me read a lot more books in a lot less time. Both Audible and Kindle offer a percentage or a progress bar showing where you're at in the book. I find that this is way more rewarding than paging through a book, and it becomes a challenge. I find that I finish books much faster this way. The last tactic, and my favorite tactic, is how I gamify my habits that compound into my goals over time. All of the amazing life that I've been able to build has been a result of changes and habits that I've created over time, who have compounded and added up to the life that I live today. For this, I love to use a habit tracker. I've tried a lot of habit tracking apps in the past, but I found that they are always costing a lot of money or lacking core features that I was really looking for. So what I did is I actually created an app myself using Notion that charts my progress and visualizes where I'm at with my habits over time. It's incredibly slick, looks great, and is by far the best habit tracking system that I've ever used. It literally turns everything that I want to improve about myself into a video game. If this looks like something that might be useful to you, you can buy my exact template in the description down below. I made it available for you guys to use yourself. All that you need to do is pick some habits that you want to stick to and start using the tool. I think that you'll find, as I did, that this is really incredible for accountability and progress over time. Gamification is amazing, but it's only one tactic that we can use. Here are some other tactics that gaming companies use that can improve your life as well. I love the concept of rewards and power-ups, especially on days that you're feeling discouraged or you have a particularly challenging project on your plate. Here are some tactics that you can use. Number 1 is provide some sort of reward to yourself for getting work done. James Clear calls this habit stacking, but it's not hard to see why this works so well. I find that sometimes I'm not in the mood to be creative and write YouTube scripts, so I always do my scripting on Sunday at my favorite coffee shop. I only go to this coffee shop when I'm working on scripts, and I only get a delicious pastry once the script is done. Number 2 is you can reward yourself for consistent good behavior. Every Friday night, I bring in something different that's delicious to eat. Usually this is my big unhealthy meal for the week, and I only get it if I've been on point during the work week. By setting this goal, I hold myself accountable to good habits during the week, and I reward myself at the end of the week. Number 3 is treat yourself to a big purchase or withhold something that you want until you achieve something great. In my life, I love to reward myself for great agency work or closing big deals for my business. If I have something big and expensive that I want, I try to only do so when I hit some sort of business milestone or close some sort of big deal for my agency. Something else that I like to do outside of these rewards is I like to track my progress over time. The habit tracker is a amazing for short-term visualization of marginal gains, but what about tracking the results of those habits? I love to track these as well. For this, it's important to document our progress over time in some form. There are two ways that I find incredibly beneficial to do this. I call this life logging, and the idea here is that you want some sort of written or digital journal charting your progress over time. The first way is to share your progress on some form of social media. I personally love to use Instagram for this because it becomes like a photo gallery documenting my life and my growth over time. It pulls things out of my camera roll that I might not scroll all the way back to and saves them as a moment in time in a sort of photo journal. It's always crazy to me to scroll to the beginning of time on my Instagram page and to see what I was talking or sharing about at different points in my life. Maybe for you, sharing publicly is not something that you want to do. I still highly recommend documenting or life logging your life. You can take photos, save ideas, whatever you want to do in your Photos app on your phone. The key here is that you just want to be documenting your progress. Maybe a journal is something that you want to take up, because when we go through growth over time, it often seems like nothing's happening in the moment. However, when you look back on where you were just a few short months ago, sometimes the results can be mind-blowing, especially if you're following some of the steps that I talked about earlier in the video. Now that we know how to use the game to our advantage, let's talk about how we can really level up. If you truly want to win in the game of life, you need to operate exactly as you would in a video game. Most games have some sort of predetermined path that you can follow all the way through, but this is usually not where victory lies. Victory and growth often comes from the side quests, challenges, and deviation from the straight and narrow. The same is true in life. Inevitably, as you go through gamifying your life and start down the self-development journey, your results are going to start blowing your mind. You're going to begin unlocking a level of growth that you never thought possible, and you're going to be documenting your journey along the way. The first thing that you want to do is continue doing the things that got you to that next level. This is financially, mentally, spiritually, all of it. When you earn money, invest it. When you level up in life, continue doubling down on the same things that got you there. This is where most people stumble. They get a taste of the good life, they let their lifestyle inflate, they get lazy, and soon they're back underwater and they're back to being unhappy. The next thing that you want to do is you want to find a mentor. This can be this YouTube channel, great time to drop a subscribe, a person that you know in real life, or someone that you find online to mentor you. If you feel like I might be a good mentor for you, check out my course on how to build an agency like I did that's given me everything that I have in life in the description down below. It's called the SMMA Blueprint. Mentors give you quantum leaps in life. They have the ability to pluck you from level 1 and drop you at level 10. They help you leapfrog the competition and save you a ton of heartache along the way. You should also be investing in every opportunity that you have to learn along your way as well. Buy courses, every single one that you can get your hands on. I probably purchase a course a month at this point. I usually spend about 10 to 15 grand per year on continuing education, and I probably have a lot of the results that people watching this video are maybe trying to achieve in life. If I'm constantly investing in my growth, then you can be too. One single good online course will teach you more in 10 videos than you'll learn spending $100,000 on a college degree, unless you're maybe trying to be a surgeon or something. You want to read as many books as you possibly can. There's so much knowledge buried in the pages of a book that you can pull off the shelf for $5 at a thrift store or $20 at Barnes & Noble. Read every single thing that you can. I always dedicate the first 20 to 30 minutes of my day to learning. Oftentimes this is the form of a course or an audiobook that I listen to on the treadmill. The idea is to get other people's ideas into my mind to continue fostering growth. Books are an amazing way to do this. The most important thing in all of this though, when it really comes to leveling up in life, is that you need to be implementing what you are learning. Take the steps that I talked about in this video, implement them. Start using the apps that I talked about to improve your fitness. Start tracking your habits and watching them compound over time. Start documenting your journey as you go through this self-development process so that you can look back at all the wins that you've had along the way. A great video to watch after this one would be this one right here, where I talk about how to get ahead of 99% of people in the next 90 days. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop a comment on what you found useful from this video in the comments down below. I'd love to connect with more of you, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.